Okay, we're gonna get started now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to anyone joining us today. My name is Alan Dominguez, and on behalf of IDDSI Global, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar titled Dysphagia at the Festive Table, Embracing Everyone, sponsored by Nestle Health Science. Some quick housekeeping before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and will be available through the IDDSI website and the official YouTube channel in the upcoming days. All participants joining us today are in listen-only mode, which means that the panelists won't hear or see you and that your microphone and video will be off for the session. However, we invite you to submit your questions, and you can do that throughout the presentation using the Q&A button on the middle of the menu bar. The panelists will then address these questions at the end of the presentation when we will have 15 to 20 minutes for a Q&A period. IDDSI doesn't currently offer continuing education units, but a certificate of attendance will be emailed automatically to anyone attending the session. You do not need to email us to receive this certificate. It will arrive in your inbox automatically in the next 24 hours. That is it for me. I will be in the background answering any technical questions that may arise. You can do that also through the Q&A panel. Now it is my pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Peter Lam, CEO of IDDSI Global. Welcome, Peter. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Alan. On behalf of the IDDSI Board of Directors, I bring greetings to everyone and a most warm welcome. We are so glad you can join us today to celebrate World Swallowing Day, which is tomorrow. IDDSI is thrilled to partner with Nestle Health Science, our platinum sponsor, to bring you today's webinar. We would like to thank Nestle Health Science for their years of support, which is what makes the work of IDDSI possible so that we can help make the world a safer place for people living with dysphagia. During this time of the year, we are usually in the midst of celebrating and enjoying festive gatherings, and sometimes we forget those who have challenges with eating, drinking, and swallowing. So it is our hope that this webinar will inspire all of us to think about what we can do and how we can embrace everyone at the festive table. We are privileged to have this amazing panel of presenters with us today. You will see their full bios in the chat function. So without any further delay, let's welcome our first presenter today, Paula Coyatza. Paula is a professor and clinical health psychologist at the Universidad Pontificia Comillas in Madrid. Her work focuses on promoting healthy behaviors and psychological well-being to aging, using motivational and person-centered approaches to support nutrition. And when asked about a favorite festive memory, Paula tells us that a few years ago, her family was diagnosed with COVID right before the festive season, and they couldn't go out to pick up their special dinner that they had planned. So they ended up just improvising with whatever they had at home. And Paula mentioned it was, in fact, a culinary disaster. But surprisingly, it was also one of their favorite moments because doing with what they had, they laughed the most together. And so these treasured memories are really wonderful. Let's welcome Paula.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. It is such a pleasure for me to be here today and be able to discuss such an important topic that is the psychological and social impact that dysphagia has. So let's start by saying what is it and who is affected. Well, first of all, whenever we are talking about dysphagia, we are referring to difficulty swallowing. This, of course, affects safety and comfort when eating and or drinking. It is estimated that around 10% of global population is affected by dysphagia. And this percentage goes even higher if we look into older individuals and into people suffering from different conditions such as dementia, stroke, or cancer, reaching a percentage of till 72%. Dysphagia is, of course, a physical health problem in which there's an obvious risk of choking and possibly fatal and really severe consequences derived from it. There is also risk of malnutrition and dehydration due to the difficulty of swallowing. And for these health issues, there are different, especially dietary solutions, such as, for example, enteral nutrition, whenever oral feeding is not possible, or modifying the texture of the food. These solutions, of course, have such a great impact in terms of they allow you to have the nutritious input you need to be healthy. So all these physical health issues are addressed by these solutions. However, these solutions do not palliate all the consequences derived from dysphagia, especially the psychological and social ones. So we also see a negative impact in quality of life. Next slide. And this is because food is much more than nutrition. We do not eat just to survive. We do not eat just to get the nutritious input we need to be healthy. Eating is an emotional, social, and really meaningful experience. Whenever we eat, we do it also because of the pleasure we feel. We enjoy the taste, the texture. We have favorite foods for whenever we want to celebrate. We have comfort foods for whenever we are feeling sad or sick. And this is part of who we are, and what we share is part of our identity and of our culture. There are different traditions and festivities at each country that actually revolve around food. And whenever someone is not able to join them or to share them with their loved ones, either because that person is not able to eat at all, or because in case he or she can eat, the plate that them are having is really different from what everyone else is having at the table. So whenever that is the case, you really feel isolated. And this is because eating is also a moment for connection and belonging. Eating is actually really involved in social participation. We find that gatherings and social events usually revolve around eating. You gather with friends to grab lunch, you meet up for supper with your family, and whenever this is something that, you have trouble with, you again feel really isolated. So whenever someone starts having difficulty swallowing or someone is diagnosed with dysphagia, they are not only living with the physical consequences, they are also suffering the grief of losing such an important experience for human beings. Next slide. So this is why whenever we see dysphagia as a physical health problem, we are only looking at the tip of the iceberg. And in fact, next slide, if we see underneath that iceberg, we find several emotional experiences that are really hard to face by people with dysphagia. Starting by the most obvious one, which is suffering fear of choking. Whenever someone with dysphagia is having a meal, in case they are able to do so, they are continuously experiencing fear. So they are actually eating with anxiety, which is really incompatible with enjoying that meal. Also, the difficulty when swallowing and this fear makes you going slower, and this is something that people with dysphagia tells us they are really self-conscious about. So the overall mealtime experience is not really positive. And this becomes even a greater problem if we think about eating out in public or in social meals, because all of this, the fear of choking becomes even greater because you might feel embarrassed of coughing and choking in front of others. And you also do not want to be observed whenever maybe you are the last one to finish and you start feeling again self-conscious. So going out to it, it becomes something far away from a pleasurable experience. And actually a moment in which you really feel out of control. So you might have a plan to go to a restaurant. You might be finding yourself looking beforehand to the menu to make sure there's something you can actually have. Or maybe you're invited to someone else's house and you're worried about what the meal's gonna be. Am I going to be able to have something? And again, you're really feeling self-conscious, worried. Eating has become such an experience you worry about, not something you're looking forward to. Also, you're starting feeling sometimes guilty because preparing your meal or adapting your meal becomes, much work, and you can actually feel like a burden for your family or for someone who is having you at their house. And that kind of feeling is horrible, especially if we consider all of these emotional experiences that are guiding your your mealtime time. In this regard, we find experiences from people with dysphagia telling us that they loved food for flavor and texture, but due to fear of choking, they cannot eat in public anymore. Some people tell us that they do not want people to be bothered by having them for a visit. And at the end of it, everything becomes too much, and we find people with dysphagia just eating because they have to live. So we see that they have lost everything we talked about eating. And whenever we were referring as an emotional, social, and meaningful experience, this has dramatically changed for them. So it cannot surprise us how this condition affects mental health. We find that people suffering from dysphagia, and especially as severity of dysphagia increases, the impact on mental health is much greater. And we see a higher rate of anxiety and depressive symptoms in these persons. Interestingly, this is also a vicious cycle in which we find that a worse mental health also relates to worse symptomatology in dysphagia. If we think about it, it is, well, it makes sense, because if I am sure all of us have experienced anxiety at some point in our lives, and you start feeling your muscles tighten up, your breath starts go to a higher rate. So of course, if you are feeling anxiety, it is not the best status to actually swallow in a really peace and calm way. So each time you're feeling anxiety, swallowing becomes more difficult. So it is there's a higher fear of choking. So you each time get more anxiety, and we end up in a vicious cycle. It is not only about physical health and mental health, it is also about enjoying one's life and one daily routine. And we see that dysphagia actually decreases quality of life and overall well-being. In this regard, we find that people with dysphagia experience less physical functioning, worse vitality. As we mentioned, it greatly impacts mental health and emotional experiences, overall satisfaction with life, and especially social connections. Focusing on this latter aspect, which is a really important one, we find that people suffering from dysphagia actually decrease their social participation. They end up feeling isolated. And isolation is not only about objectively being alone or not participating in social events, but it is also referring to a lonely feeling. And this also has to do with sometimes not being understood by others. So sometimes whenever someone says, I have dysphagia, this is not a commonly recognized problem in some contexts. And they are not being aware of how much the people with dysphagia has lost, because we do not see food in this way until we think about it, and we think about how hard it is to not being able to eat what we want, how we want it, to enjoy the taste, to enjoy the texture, and all the things that come with it. And whenever we do not feel understood or comfortable, we end up avoiding at all social situations, and especially meals in company. So we find people feeling lonely and also objectively isolated, which unsurprisingly relates to worse mental health. And this way we see that all factors are really interconnected, leading to, in general, a really worse experience in life, really. So we need much more than a physical solution. Of course, we need something that is convenient in terms of meals that are easy to swallow and that are not going to increase the risk of choking. And we need healthy solutions, because of course we need to input the nutritious meals that are going to assure one's health. However, we also need to consider a third component. Next slide. Which is pleasure. As we were mentioning, food is much more than nutrition, so aside from being convenient and healthy, we also need to think of meals that are flavorful, that have an appealing appearance so that someone can actually be excited about having a meal and not just eating because they have to live. Also, another thing that actually changes the experience of eating, as we were mentioning, is social engagement, the ambience. So we can also contribute to a person with dysphagia enjoying their meal because of the social interaction surrounding it. In this regard, as I was mentioning, this is a really tricky component because people with dysphagia might be really self-conscious and might not rather be in company because of well, fears and all of what we explained. But we can try our best to make them feel comfortable and to actually make a meal time enjoyable. However, we should not forget about family and caregivers. I am saying it is important to make meals that are really flavorful and appealing and everything, but we are looking sometimes into family members and caregivers that are already suffering a high burden, especially when they are having family members with enteral nutrition as a solution for dysphagia. We also should keep in mind that whenever we are seeing people with dysphagia, it's usual to find comorbidities. So caregivers and family members are not only living with dysphagia, are usually also living with diseases such as sclerosis, cancer, Huntington disease, which of course bring a lot of emotional experiences that are really hard to face. And of course, they are suffering challenges to adapt meals, meaning it is hard enough sometimes to have a convenient and a healthy solution just to add more work into make it look more appealing or more flavorful, because sometimes we find these caregivers with a really high burden. In this regard, we find emotional experiences such as caregivers really fearing that their loved one is choking and they are worried about their health. They sometimes get frustrated because they do not know what's the best solution or how to best handle this. And they even sometimes feel guilty because they ran out of patience and maybe they gave a bad response to their loved one, but they are really exhausted and sometimes also feeling embarrassed of going out to eat. So the consequences that are suffered from dysphagia are also impacting overall family and caregivers. So for these people, eating again was no longer viewed as a relaxing and pleasurable experience. It becomes a time of danger in which they have to be really cautious and hyper vigilant that their loved one is not getting choked, that he or she is okay. So they are also suffering the loss of this important experience. For example, we have here a quote that was telling how a daughter felt really uneasy when her mother was eating because she was always hyper vigilant of checking if the food was actually going down or if it was getting stuck. So what truly helps? Well, first of all, as I was mentioning, mental health is something that is usually impacted by dysphagia. And furthermore, worse mental health seems to maybe worsen dysphagia symptoms. So, for example, taking care of these needs by going to therapy if needed, or just to use the resources that are available to get the psychosocial, psychological support that you need could be a really important strategy. And this is not only meant for those suffering from dysphagia, but also for the caregivers and family members who need this emotional support. A second point that we see is that patients and informal caregivers are missing education and information about dysphagia. They would like to have more information so that they feel more in control. They would like to know what happens if they choke, what should I do, what are the risks, the dangers, the best way to act. So improving the education and information they receive would also give them some control about it. Whenever I was thinking of, okay, let's think of tips to improve comfort of people with dysphagia at the table, I ended up thinking that the best approach is to recognize diversity. Whenever we look into people with dysphagia, we find such a high heterogeneity. We might find people experiencing other severe diseases such as cancer, sclerosis. Their needs are going to be different from others who are not suffering from those diseases. Also, again, it's not the same if you have internal nutrition or if you are modifying the texture of the foods. What texture are you still able to handle? So each person might have different priorities and different needs, and we need to accommodate them as much as we can. So I would say that the most important thing is to actually give these persons what they are asking for, which is control and decision making. No one wants to feel dependent, and no one wants to feel like the other people are feeling pity of them. So I would say that an important tip is to just promote decision making and implication in meals. So maybe just ask them what would they prefer for eating, and maybe even if they are able to, they can participate in the preparation of doing so. So the best thing is to avoid assuming what is best and to just actually have an open communication with your loved ones who may have dysphagia and discuss preferences. So just go ahead and ask them what would actually help him or her feel more comfortable at the table. Maybe some would like for all the food to be at the table at the same time so everyone can go at a different rhythm and he or she does not feel like they are slowing out the rate of the evening. But this is just one example. I am sure that each of them have different preferences and needs, and if we listen to them, we might be able to actually make them feel comfortable in a social meal and feel included with respect, dignity, and autonomy, which could be a really an amazing goal to make them feel that way and to try to collaborate so that eating can actually be enjoyed. So next slide. Thank you so much for your attention. And of course, if you have any question, I will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Paula, for that insightful presentation. And thank you so much for reminding us that mental health challenges associated with dysphagia can greatly affect a person's quality of life. We do need to consider a personalized approach and recognize individual priorities and needs with respect, dignity, and to help promote that autonomy that you're talking about. So thank you so much, Paula. Next, we have Dr. Emmanuel Chareda. He is an accomplished medical professional with a strong background in clinical nutrition. He is an MD who has a specialized degree in clinical nutrition and in a very interesting area, clinical and experimental nutrition. So Emanuele tells us that in Italy, food is not only culture, tradition, but also a family experience. He treasures the time together around the family table, laughing and preparing the festive meal. And his favorite memory is all about making tortellini by hand, many, many tortellini by hand. Wouldn't it be marvelous to gather around the Chereda family table and enjoy some of Dr. Chereda's handmade tortellini? So let's welcome Emmanuel, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and really happy to join you in this beautiful experience for everyone. It's not just a meeting for caregivers; it's just a place to share experience, knowledge, but at the same time being at the same table, talking about the problems related with the management of patients suffering from dysphagia. What I'm going to talk about is the role of nutrition. So what's the role of nutrition? This is my first question. Indeed, nutrition is a medical treatment. We have guidelines. This is just an example of the one we have drafted for clinical nutrition in neurology because many patients suffering from dysphagia are also suffering from another disease that is much more related to neurodegeneration, but is not limited to. And an important starting point is that as a medical nutrition treatment, it should be conceived as something that is able to safely optimize energy intake and nutrient requirements, but at the same time combining attention and focus on the meal volume and the meal duration, taking also into account the underlying disease condition, which can be really heterogeneous. But at the same time, and I would not to forget what has been already told by Professor Coyazzo, is the importance also of the caregiver. So also the intensity of the caregiving related to the meal, providing meals to patients with dysphagia. Yeah. So what do we mean for safely? Safely, indeed, the dysphagia is a risk factor, first of all, for aspiration pneumonia or airways obstruction. So it could be a life-threatening condition. But at the same time, we have to take into account from a nutritional standpoint also the problems related to dehydration and malnutrition that are related to reduced fluid and calorie intake. So nutritional management is crucial for the health of this patient from several point of views. We have different nutritional support strategies in our pocket and something like weapons. So we can start from texture modified diet with or without food fortification. But when this procedure and strategy is not enough, we can rely also on the use in combination of oral nutritional supplements. These are energy dense, ready to use preparations that are delivered as food for special medical purposes. They have tailored composition in terms of energies, in terms of proteins, and in terms also of micronutrients, just to enrich the diet when the normal food is not enough. But once also the using combination of supplements is not enough, we just need to move to artificial nutrition, either enteral or parenteral as last choice, but the first choice should be always to consider the use of a functioning gastrointestinal tract. Indeed, with the different strategies, there is an increase, taking into account the different possibilities to improve the intake of the patient with the strategies that I have already listed. There is an increase in complexity, but at the same time, the increase in complexity is associated with increased safety and increased compliance because there is a less participation and involvement of the patient in the nutritional process. And indeed, the efficacy of these strategies in terms of safety, but also in efficacy in terms of nutritional provision is rising up and up during this flow. Anyway, texture modified diet and fractionated diet, because we can obviously spread out the consumption of food throughout the day, is the first line strategy we have to rely on. So once this is possible, this is still safe, do believe in oral feeding. Oral feeding is a way to provide energies, but at the same time is an experience, as we have learned from the previous lecture. Next slide. So at the same time, as a first line strategy, these should be well managed by experienced professionals. And for doing this, dietary counseling should be offered and maintained over time. This should be provided both to patient and the caregiver. And why is so important? It is important because sometimes it's not just mixing what you want to eat in a cream and deliver to the patient. because some foods are richer than other in terms of some nutrients. Some can be mixed much better than others. So it's likely that a self-made texture-modified diet is associated also with dietary restrictions. And dietary restriction could be problematic. Sometimes dietary restrictions are compulsory because are also related to the presence of different comorbidities. We know that with increasing age, with increasing risk of dysphagia, it's likely that we have a patient with diabetes, with neurodegenerative diseases. Sometimes there is a problem with renal failure. So all these comorbidities need to be considered altogether in preparing the meals. So dietary restrictions are necessary sometimes, and dietary restrictions are introduced even if unwanted by the patient or the caregivers, and needs to be managed in the best way. So if we think about the safety of a food preparation, indeed we have to deal primarily with the texture and the viscosity of the meals. But once we have to deal also with the optimization at the same time of nutrient requirements, there are a lot of things we have to care of. And these are waters, calories, protein, micronutrients, fiber. So a lot of different nutrients that, next slide, that need to be considered all together. And this means that we have to choose the right food sources for preparing the meals. We have to mix them up and to modify the texture in the best way, but at the same time we have to combine a high energy density, because so one of the problems of the patient with dysphagia is the volume of the meal. And once you increase the meal, the volume of the media, you are likely not to complete the meal itself. So the next slide, there is also an interesting study. The lower the level of food consistency, so once you have a meal that is too liquidized fluid, it's likely that the energy density is going down, and with the decrease in energy density, so a lower level of consistency, the higher the prevalence of malnutrition and sarcopenia could be. That means that you are not providing in the same volume the right amount of nutrients, and this brings to malnutrition or poor protein intake, which is related to sarcopenia. So it's really a medical treatment, but it's really a medical treatment, nutrition, also in terms of quality of life, also in terms of psychological domain. As you had learned from the previous lecture, but also from my presentation, you can see that quality of life is a key outcome of a patient with dysphagia. We can improve quality of life with the food experience, so the possibility to have to share meal times with others, so as a social experience, a high quality and a tasty food, so a personal experience, but at the same time reducing the stress, improving the nutritional status of the patient brings an improvement of quality of life. And indeed, I must recognize that consuming a texture-modified diet per se, it could be already an unpleasant experience. So we just need to do our best to improve this experience in several ways. And improving this experience means improving quality of life, not only for the patients, but also for the caregivers. It could be really a therapy also for caregivers. I would like to stress just this a little bit because sometimes dysphagia brings a sense of incapacity for the patient, but also for the caregiver. So having a caregiver feeling a positive experience in being able to help a person with dysphagia, delivering nutrition is something like doing something for someone. Feeding is have it can I can see it starts from the early life. So the thinking about the breastfeeding is really caregiving. And it brings a capacity of to the caregivers of being useful for a patient that have a lot of problems related to the underlying disease condition and related to the problem of dysphagia. But at the same time, with the less intensity, less intense caregiving, it could be also good tailored nutrition, a cost-effective experience. We can reduce indeed the rate of complications that are directly related to the safety of swallowing, so aspiration and airway obstruction. But at the same time, those that are related to indirectly related to low quality food. In particularly, we have stressed the concept of malnutrition and sarcopenia. And once we have improved the quality of the meals and you have optimized the composition of the meal, reducing the volume, you're also bringing less food wasting, which could be also taken into account in terms of the overall economy of the patient and the healthcare system. So this means that nutritional support is a medical treatment, means that we can provide tailored nutrition based on the capacity of swallowing. We can tailor it on the different difficulties and capacity. And in doing this, we can improve not only the safety, but also the nutritional status of the patient, the quality of life, the caregiving, the quality of life of the caregiver itself, the quality of life of the patient, bringing also some money saving, and I will define it as a win-win strategy. So, thank you everyone for listening to my presentation, and I'm really happy to answer your question if you have any.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's so good to hear that for dysphagia management, while we are considering safety, we also need to be mindful of optimizing nutrition and making sure that we support the caregivers as well as the person with dysphagia to reduce stress, complications, and the complexity of care providing. So thank you so much for reminding us of that, Emmanuel. Our next presenter is Elizabeth Perez. She is a passionate professional whose career actually blends culinary expertise with artistic creativity. Isn't that marvelous? Elizabeth is the founder of Food Project Barcelona and Art and Sugar. So she prides herself both as a chef and an artist, transforming cuisine into unique visual and sensory experiences. So for the past 8 years, she's been working with Nestlé Health Science, developing recipes for patients with dysphagia. So when I asked Elizabeth about a favorite festive memory, she told me about last New Year's Eve, where she gathered with about 40 people that brought delicious homemade food. She mentioned there were lots of desserts, there were lots of drinks, there were lots of turrones, and then they welcomed the new year by eating 12 grapes. Now, in case you are not familiar with that tradition, it's a Spanish tradition symbolizing good luck for the upcoming 12 months by eating the 12 grapes. And then following that event, the kids, she calls them, organized an after party with a Just Dance competition. And oh my goodness, they partied until 5 a.m. in the morning. Wow, don't we all want to be partying with Elizabeth? So she loves seeing everybody playing. She loved the fact that her kids were interacting with the grandparents, sharing food, dancing until they were totally out of breath. So it's moments like these that fills her heart with joy. Let's welcome Elizabeth for her presentation.
Oh, hello, everybody. Thank you for that intro. It's quite, so hearing it from the outside is quite big. So thank you for that intro. And thank you for everybody that is there. Just let me share my screen with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth. You can share your screen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There you go. A second. Oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, thank you everybody that is there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending to this event. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure, but actually an honor to be here today, sharing our work and what we've been doing so far. So to share this and to celebrate this World Dysphagia Day, I'll be using as a tool our book I just developed. It's called let me show you. It's Festive Menus for All, and it's been developed for people with swallowing difficulties and for the whole family and whoever you have in your celebration. So I'll be sharing with you all this, which is the core of this book, which I'm going to be showing you in a minute, is to bring in tasty food that is fun, it's delightful, and well, the things to explore, to share, and to have time with people we love, and most important, to discover new flavors. I will be bringing, more than anything, techniques, so you can actually do this yourself. So the menus and what I'm bringing is it's an excuse to show you how to work it yourself, and mainly so that you can actually do yourself at home and see, bring out your, if you think, oh, I will do this way because this is what we normally do in my place. So do it. Please feel free to change everything around it. But just make sure that before you start, whatever I'm going to be sharing, you will be able to download it as well. There's going to be a QR at the end of the presentation that you read the whole recipe, because even though these are non-standard recipes, they need to be read all the way through, so you make sure you follow through and you know what you're doing, even though if you're adapting them. And if you are not a person that adapts recipes and just follow them to the first step, you can, because these have been very specified and explained in a way that you can follow. I will also bring you my recommendation for the day, because out of this book there's 9 recipes, and I've chosen 3 recipes I will introduce you to you. And I would love to be in my kitchen and have you all around, but that's not going to be happening today. Maybe one day in the future. I will do my best, and I've got videos to help me support my words. And so if I'm not a good communicator by words, or you can't connect with me, you can connect with the images. And so we can, connect together and make ourselves understood. So let's go with it. So the characteristics of these recipes are mainly, even though they're festive, I try to use market products, seasonal products, things you can buy in the supermarket that they're not special or special to be ordered from anywhere far away from the Middle East or another different place in the world that doesn't belong to you. So these are local products that you can buy and find anywhere. And they also incorporate different traditions and different cuisines from all over the world. Okay, these are standard recipes, but adapted to dysphagia. There's going to be a portion adapted to dysphagia because this is for the whole family. And also the serving size is for 4 people. But if your family core is 2 people, feel free to divide it by 2. If you're more people, just use your maths. I'm sure you can, and make it work. And so we'll be introducing, as you can see, 3 starters, 3 main courses, 3 desserts, and of course, there's going to be a drink. These recipes, as the doctor said, they're small portions, but they're concentrated and they got a high value in them. So I hope you can enjoy it. Technical aspects of these recipes is the cohesiveness in it is made by a thickener. I'm going to be using a xanthan gum based thickener, and I will be using them by the instructions of the manufacturer. So make sure that when you're using a thickener, you use the right consistency that's been prescribed by your doctor, but you also follow the instructions of the manufacturer. This one is based in Shantangan. It's tasteless, it's odorless, and it's ensuring that our swallowing is safe and is stable. Okay, kitchen utensils. I'm going to use home kitchen utensils because they're recipes for four, so there's not much point in using an industrial kitchen. Even though if you want to use them for industrial kitchen, you can also adapt them for industrial kitchens. And primarily, one of the main tools you're going to need is a good blender or mixer. If your blender isn't good enough, this is a good time to buy a decent one. You're going to find lots of different mixers and blenders that will fit without being too much. They will fit the needs to be adapting recipes for swallowing difficulties. Yes, as I said, please feel free to adapt these recipes I made with your ingredients. But please make sure that when it comes down to following the technical aspects of blending, using, changing, those remained as we are explaining because of safety reasons. And just make sure that the consistency follows your doctor's requirements. Also, because I'm a planet freak lover, I'm really trying to use the minimum plastics and food waste in this recipe. So I hope you appreciate that because I do. So please. And before we start, I know this is not technical aspect, but it is the most technical aspect. It's about the meats and you're going to be using in mainly all your recipes when you cook. This huge tip that works really well is that even though you buy fresh meats or wherever you buy, please make sure you freeze it first, because the freezer has this thing that, that we chefs hate, which is breaks the membranes of the meat, because then it changes the texture of it. But when it comes down to dysphagia, that's fantastic. It will make the meat super tender, and it will change the consistency of it and will make the muscle. And then when we work with the meat and we're trying to blend it, it's going to be easier, and there's not going to be residues when we talking about the swallowing and the second swallow. It's going to be completely clean, and it's going to help us to do a good job as carers, as chefs, or where you are. It's going to help you in your task. Okay. So today I've got for you as a starter from the lives, a main course, a teriyaki green seitan, and as a dessert, spicy pears, and as a drink, a gold wine from the center of Germany. I hope you enjoy the menu I'm presenting to you today. So our dessert is called spicy pears and rum reduction. It's inspired in Northern European cuisine. You know, when people go to the markets and they have this wine that's got spices in it, or even in Poland, I remember once it was served a wine with all this. They said, "Do you want a winter tea?" And they gave me this winter tea that was based in red fruits and all these spices. It was fantastic. So I've used that as a base for this recipe. So I'm trying to use really strong flavors that punch in. So if we also have problems with our losing our flavor capability as a patient, we can, as carers, provide a strong flavor that will actually bring some flavors back in. And the contrast in this recipe is quite strong because we have the sweetness of the pears, the punch of the spices, and the wine that brings in this sweetness that blends together with the flavors of the fruit. So let's go with it. Let's hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Okay. So we're going to start by boiling the brown sugar in the rum, allowing it to evaporate a little bit. If you're a wine lover and you like the rum, just cut down the times and giving up to evaporate the rum. And then I suggest you add the juice of 3 fresh oranges. But if you don't have fresh oranges, a juice will be fine. But it's going to be super tasty if you have oranges, mandarins, or any of those that really are close to oranges. And then we're going to bring in the orange peel, because it's going to give us this bitter flavor. The slices of ginger, which is the punch of flavor that's kicking in strongly, The cinnamon is the sweetness, and the peppercorns also going together really well with the ginger, and it's going to give us this special season flavor. So boil it for a little bit, allow it to sit. It's like, when I mean boiling, I mean, oh, sorry, lost it. When I mean boiling, I mean medium heat. See, if you see the bubbles, they're not going crazy. It's just kind of medium heat. And then you infuse it for 15 minutes, okay? And if you don't get much flavor from your infusion, allow it to sit for 20 minutes. If you need more flavor, just let it rest for a bit longer. Do not over let it rest, because otherwise the orange peel is going to make it really bitter. So be careful with your waiting time, and then strain on the right time, okay? We're going to get 4 pears, ripe if possible. Chop them into 4mm sizes, and we're going to cook those pears in the juice we got from the previous boiling liquid. But before we put them in there, we need to strain out all the bits and pieces that could be causing problems later on. So please make sure you're very careful and persist on removing things that shouldn't be there, okay? So I'm going to strain that, and we're going to boil the pears. Pears tend to boil, if they're ripe, they will boil in some minutes. They'll be cooked and nice and soft enough. Thing is, you are cooking for the whole family, so you don't want to overcook the pears, so everybody's happy with what you're making, so they're kind of together, yeah? And pears blend really well, so do not overcook them, all right? If your pears are not ripe and they're hard, just make sure you cut them thinner and maybe cook them for a little bit longer, and just make sure that they're cooked. Okay, then we're going to get 1 portion of those pears, and we're going to texturize them with our thickener, and we have to make sure we blend them really well. You know, in this case, we only need one scoop of thickener, because we're not adding any extra liquids, and what is in there is going to be enough. And every time you're going to say, oh, 1 scoop is not enough. When you blend thickeners with a blender, they tend to act better, and the cohesiveness in there is actually works better, and it's more elastic. So 1 scoop should do, all right? And if you need more cohesiveness, just blend it for a bit longer. And when it comes down to blending times, even though when we cooked, we don't want to overcook, when we are blending, we will really want to be careful with the blending time and give enough time so it's really well worked on, and there's not lumps, and our mix is stable. All right. Now we're going to make the base of our dessert, which is made with the previous boiling juices that we captured and we strained before. Make sure they're really well strained, there's no bits and pieces, and we're going to blend it with 6 scoops. This is going to make the recipe thick enough to join together with the pears we made before. One thing here, oh, sorry, what's this? Yeah, sorry. One thing here is that wherever we're making has to have the same texture. So we're going here, what we're doing is a level 4. Make sure they have the same texture and they blend in together. We don't want to mix level 3s and level 4s. Oh yes, please. When you serve a loved one with swallowing difficulties, do not forget to decorate your portion for this person, because they also like the fanciness. But always please remember to remove it once you make the presentation. Remove the decorations, okay? Just safety reasons. And then we can just, with the same way we've done before, we can just dish out the second portion, and we have 2 different desserts made with the same amount of effort, and everybody's having the same. So I think this is fun. This is fun, and this is nice for everybody to enjoy whatever you're celebrating. Okay. Okay. Tips of the chef, which is myself at the moment. So cooking tips about the pears. If they're ripe, the better. If you don't want to have alcohol in your recipe, you can flambe, which is the process of, you've seen it, chefs, burning the liqueur in it, having a little bit of a flame, that's flambe. So this was going to help us to complete kind of the evaporation of the alcohol, even though it won't be 100% free of alcohol. So we come back with another tip in a minute. And if you don't feel like you feel comfortable with the alcohol in your drink, in your dessert, sorry, just use apple juices, non-alcoholic drinks. You have non-alcoholic rums exist. I chose rum because it has a nice combination with the pears. So, but feel free to change it, whatever makes you comfortable. All right. Then also, you don't have pears because it's not your season there. Just use apple, mango, peaches, whatever you have around, and that you are sure that you can actually blend properly. So feel free to adjust in there. And also, if sugar, because if you've seen at the beginning, there was a good amount of sugar, you can either use sweeteners or change to coconut sugar, which has a very low sugar peak. Dates are fantastic. They do have a low sugar peak, actually. And then also this dessert can be served cold and warm, which is, I think, is fun. So I love warm desserts. Make sure it's warm, it's not hot. Hot can be a little bit complicated. So this is when we should go back to checking the IDDSI guidelines, before you serve it. And also, if you want to pair it with make the contrast, you can use Greek yogurt with it. It goes really well. And Greek yogurt doesn't need adjusting the texture because it fits the IDDSI needs. We're going to go with the main course here. Okay, you guys with me? I don't know, I can't see you, but I hope you're there. So this is a teriyaki grease tan with parsnips. I love parsnips. Normally people tend, especially in my country, they tend to discard them and do not use them. But parsnips there's one of those fruits that works really well, or tubes that works really well. Super tasty, has a tangy taste. This is one of the naughty tubes that are super tasty, so please don't be afraid of using it. Sweet potatoes are the contrast to the parsnips, and also keep a low sugar peak. And edamame hummus, edamame hummus bed. This edamame was just an idea because I was making the teriyaki sauce and I thought, oh, edamame, teriyaki, and then we roll it together. And edamame has this sweet flavor on it. Is one of those legumes that you just love. I mean, I just got myself, I can't stop eating them. So imagine making a hummus with it. Super nice, super tasty, very easy, okay? So this recipe is inspired Asian cuisine, okay? And the teriyaki sauce is what actually brings in all this kind of, brings it all back all together because it's what brings in the Asian into it. And the flavor profile of this is the umami that gets together the teriyaki, as I said, with the soy sauce and the rice vinegar and all those flavors that actually combine with the vegetables and the smoky, sometimes, if you can find it, flavor of the seitan. And it's like so much into it, and it's going to help. I mean, and the intake of calories in it is quite high, and the goodness in it is all fantastic. So let's go and see how it happens. Oh, this is level 4. The edamame beans you have to boil really well. Any beans you're making out of syrup. At the moment, why am I pushing the boiling time in the edamame? Is because nowadays you can't, well, at least where I am, I'm sure somebody there does have it in their country, but I cannot find already cooked edamame. And edamame are one of those beans that at the moment I've not been able to find, as I said. So you have to push in the cooking time. So and you have to make sure they are cooked. When they come in frozen, they normally cook better and faster. But if they have not been frozen, I'm suggesting a time, but set 15, 20 minutes. If you need longer, feel free to do so. But they have to be soft, okay? Then we're going to add all the flavor in it. It's an hummus. So the lime, the pinch of salt. We're going to add the, of course, olive oil. If you have it, if you can reach it, olive oil is fantastic. And the tahini sauce, of course. And it almost has to be having a tahini sauce. I love coriander. I put coriander leaves in it. But if you don't have coriander, don't feel bad about it. Because some people, coriander is one of those spices that you either love or hate. So if you don't want to have coriander, it will still work. You might just need to add a little bit more lemon juice and it will still work, okay? This is an almost standard, it will work, but because we're texturizing it for dysphagia, we're going to be adding water, so then we can add our thickener and make sure it's cohesive. Because at the moment it's not. It's a nice texture, but it's not suitable for dysphagia. So the way to actually make recipes suitable for dysphagia when they have this format is by adding a little bit of water. It's super tip, really, probably the best tip you're going to get today. It adds what you need as the liquid, and then you just need to adjust with your thickener. Okay. Yes, blend it really well. Really push the blending time as your thickener, because you thought before it was a little bit more runny, but we're going to give it the cohesiveness, which you didn't have before, but you're going to see some more cohesive right now. So we're going with the teriyaki sauce. Teriyaki sauce, there's so many recipes, but the point of the teriyaki sauce is the contrast between the sweet, the sour, and the soy sauce, which is the base of it. So here I just kept it to the lowest, to the minimum, the clearest ingredients, which are, for me, I'm going to bring the sweetness with the orange juice, because it also has all the goodness of the orange juice, the soy sauce, and also the rice vinegar. You might need to adjust the amount of soy sauce if your soy sauce is too strong, okay? We need to thicken it up. Just boil it for a small time, and, until you kind of blend all the flavors together. Do not, medium heat, not too hot, always, just always, in general, in life, in your kitchen, make sure you don't work at too high heat unless you're doing certain things. But mainly, all cooking happens at a medium heat. And to this recipe, we're going to add 3 scoops of thickener. I'm going to do by hand. If you wanted to have more cohesiveness, you can do with your blender. Our vegetables. You need vegetables. These are fantastic. These are parsnips. I love this. These parsnips are fantastic. We just need to cut them into little bits, 4mm sizes. I've chosen to cook them in the oven because it's one of the ways to preserve more the flavors. And the time I'm going to cook them in the oven, it's the minimum time and they need to be cooked. Do not overcook your food, because all the brown bits in your food are not really suitable for dysphagia. So make sure that your cooking time is, when they're soft and kind of cooked, that's all you need. Okay. Okay, olive oil. Sorry, I can't help it. I put it everywhere. And then salt and pepper. Go to the oven, 20 minutes. If your oven is fantastic and it takes 15, then it's 15. Blend really well. Just taking one portion, and I'm only texturizing one portion, okay? In this case, I do not need a thickener, okay? So because the starch from the sweet potato will actually do the trick. But if you feel like you need to add one, feel free to do so. Now, the seitan, we're going to guess that's the magic happening. We're going to cut them into 4mm bits, small bits. But to be honest with you, because we're going to be blending, it doesn't really matter. It's just to go into a pretty shape thing. Here I was just putting them through the frying pan, so they're a little bit more tasty and they're closed up. And I'm going to use, of course, because I got this teriyaki sauce, I'm going to add it to this bit of the preparation. I'm not only going to save it for the end to top up the preparation. I'm going to use that and bring in more flavor, because what we need to do in these recipes for dysphagia is to push in and fight for the flavor, to bring in the need to actually try that, to actually somebody say, I'm not hungry, and then just come and sit on the table because you really want to eat, because it smells good. So again, we're going to texturize one portion. And once this is textured, which depends on your seitan, you might actually need to add a little bit of water to it. Make sure the level of dysphagia fits with everything else you're doing. But this, in my case, looked hard, but it worked really well. So, and just add 1 scoop of thicken up here. Now comes the cooking technique. We're going to fill in 1 pastry bag, okay, which is not hard. So we put it over our hands and we just fill it up with, we're just going fancy, okay? It's festive menu. So I'm doing something out of the the standard. Okay, you cannot do it with a piping bag, but just think festive menus. Let's do something fancy. Okay, so we're going to go fancy. So dishing up, we're going to get our hummus. I decided to give it this this texture. If you're people with swallowing difficulties, has more, they can actually manage better themselves, and you want to present it in a different way, you can. I've chosen to do it in this way because in every kind of spoonful, oops, what's happened here? In every spoonful, you'll find all of the flavors more or less. So that's why I've chosen this kitchen ring, which is not expensive, easy to find anywhere. And so you work it in layers, and it helps you to kind of, it's a way to allow yourself to make more mistakes, get it wrong, but at the same time, it helps you to get it right. So I suggest you use the ring. And then, yeah, use your piping bag, make it fancy. And you see here, voila, the things are cohesive. See this gooiness in it, it's fantastic. And then we can use a teriyaki sauce. And voila, there we are. Oh, decorations, of course. Decorate your persons, loved persons, with dysphagia plates so they feel loved and special. And remember to remove them afterwards, super important, okay? Tips of the chef. No, you don't feel very sure about tofu. I chosen tofu because it's super high in proteins. Okay. Chosen seitan. I chosen seitan because it's super high in proteins. But you don't feel sure about seitan? Use tofu. Tofu is very easy to manage. It's another. Oh, this recipe is vegan. I've not said it, but in this menu that I presented, there's a vegan chapter. So we have a starter, main course, and a dessert for a vegan option. So we are making this recipe vegan. This is why I'm suggesting tofu. But if you want to go into a different option because you're just not vegan and you want more flavor, this is very tasty, but you want to change, you can substitute with chicken, for example, or wherever is your favorite. But just make sure you do the same treatment and you cook it really well and you blend it really well. Okay. You're feeling lazy, too many people for lunch, dinner, or whatever, loads of yours or with yourselves. Just use the industrial option. So you can buy a teriyaki sauce and an hummus in the shop. It's perfectly fine. Just remember to adjust the texture with a thickener. You can't serve or dish up a standard industrial option to a person with dysphagia. You need to texturize it and make it steady, safe, and stable for everybody, well, for your person. So please make sure that if you're going to use a store-bought sauce or hummus, you're going to stabilize it with a thickener. Okay. Next, from the light. Oh yeah, by the way, you've seen me start with the dessert and then go into the main course, and I'm jumping to the starter. It's because we're supposed to be in the kitchen. So you normally start making your dessert, and this is the order I would suggest. Start with the dessert, then go with your main course, which just takes a little bit more time and it helps you manage your timing, and then finish off with the starter, because the starter normally happens in a very short period of time. So this is why I've presented my recipes in a different order than I would actually serve them or present them to my guests and my people. Okay. So this starter is called From the Light, grilled, served with infused oil, quail eggs, okay, yolk emulsion, and they're going to be served with a special wine production, okay. This is for me is a Mediterranean inspiration. I know the prawns are very popular all over the world, especially in the Asian cuisine. So this is kind of, I think it's a recipe that can be served worldwide. And then yeah, seafood normally is paired with rich sauces, and so it's going to be kind of the grills, the prawns, then it will provide us the smoking flavor, and the egg yolk will give us the sweetness. So it's a good contrast. Plus, I've used wine to make a sauce, so the sauce is going to be making it special, right? So we go with it. And in this video, I've actually put some techniques so you can actually manage some techniques in your kitchen. So this is our prawn, which I'm going to show you how to clean it. So we're going to chop the heads, but we're going to save them for later because the heads contain all the flavor of the sea in them, which we love. I'm going to use later. And this is how you can clean them by hand, but I use a fancy technique with the scissors. You know, it actually looks better on camera as well. And clean them up. I mean, getting them out of the shell is really easy. So just go like that, and you got your prawn coming out clean. Really nice. There's a procedure coming, which is cleaning the prawn. If you want to skip this step, it's perfectly fine because you're going to be using the what comes from inside the heads as part of the recipe. These are algae and products from the bottom of the sea. So, and we're going to be using the inside of the heads, but it looks very nice when it's clean. So however you feel more comfortable doing it, just go ahead and do it. It's not a lot of work. So most important thing of this recipe, the cooking time, the cooking technique. It's just very short period of time cooking. The prawn is very small, so the center of the prawn is very close to the pan. It will cook in no time. So do not exceed your time of cooking. You know, do not overcook. As I said, do not make things brown. You know, like we normally do. Just make it a little bit more crunchy. In this video, we just don't want the overcooking thing. Okay, we just cook it to the right point. So if you see, I'm going to show you. This is how white we want them. That's about it. That's how we want them. Just about cooked. Minimum time, but cooked. So go with it. And then we will cook the heads. By cooking the heads with the extra oil that we have, is the half of the oil that we saved from before. We'll cook the heads and we press them so we can get all the flavors of the heads. And also there's extra protein coming out of these heads. So we'll be using that as part of our wine reduction to give it extra flavor. You can add a little bit of lemon later if you want, just to make it a little bit more tangy. But oh yeah, and please remove all the little legs and bits and pieces from there. Okay, and now we're gonna add the wine to recuperate all these flavors from the bottom of the pan. So use the same pan and do not cook it too. It's just to collect those things. Once it's cooked and the wine smells like nice and different, you can just take it out and blend it with 1 scoop of thickener. And make sure that you blend it really well, because what is there is it's very soft. It's not a stiff type of meat that is in there. And save it for later. And the prawns, which are already cold because they've been waiting to be cooked, chopped from before, chop them into small pieces, 4 millimeter size. And just make sure that when you cut your bits, they're kind of even. Insist a little bit. And here you can see how smooth they are when you cook them to the right amount of time. So they're really easy to blend, they're nice and tasty. And this is the final result of the prawns, which we're going to put together with the juices were recuperated and from before. And this is going to make it has a fancy flavor because it has the wine in it, which is I've chosen this wine is kind of bit dry, and it brings in this flavor. Well, here's the egg yolk that we're going to get from the quail egg. And if you don't have a quail egg and you're not sure about it, you can use a normal egg. But if you're going to be doing it that way, I suggest you do the whole yolk for everybody, because it's difficult to spread. And as we're going to give this one texture and volume, this same egg yolk can be used for the rest of the family. So feel free to use it for everyone else if you want. And we're going to make here an emulsion. This is why we put the olive oil. So it's a little bit more stiff and tasty, and at the same time, it's more silky in your mouth when you eat it. This is half a scoop of thickener. You may think it's a lot, but because I'm using it with the hand whisk, the fact that it's using the hand whisk, it won't get as thick as if you do with the blender. So it's perfectly fine. And you make sure it's standard. It's standard. It's stiff. I mean, it's has a good texture. And I'm just going to use a piping bag, but if you don't have a piping bag, you can use the coffee spoon as that little teaspoon to put it on your preparation later on. Okay, this makes life easy, and so it will help us to put it on our final dishing up. Well, same thing as before. I've got this. You can turn it into a longer thing, like a little brunch or something, but just to help you go on the safe side, put it there. The fact that it's got a thickener in it, it's going to hold it all together. It's not going to look fantastic. It's not going to fall apart. And now you just decorate. You can do a center thing. I've done bits and pieces. Just allow your imagination to move on flight. And you can use the same thing for the rest of the family if you don't have the quail egg yolk where you are. And just present it more or less the same. And I've just decorated here with olive oil and chives. You can make a vinaigrette as well if you want. So here you are, two different plates, more or less. Oh, this is a level 5 actually. For those of you that are asking, if you need to do a level 3, feel free to adjust and blend it. Okay. Now we're going to go with drinks. I'm not going to stop on the tips because I've done most of them in the speaking before. The drinks, I'm going to do a wine and Riesling, which is a nice wine because it's got a nice acidity. It's not, you can have it from a drier option to a more sweeter option. And if you need to do a free alcohol option, feel free to do so by using a grape juice or else, right? So let's see this. This one is semi-dry actually, but we're going to super important. Last but not least, drinks are to be done properly, and we're going to start with a dry glass. Okay, so sorry, there we go. Okay, we're going to start with a dry glass, and from then on, it's just follow the instructions of your manufacturer. I'm going to do a level 3 here because I'm using 2 scoops in 100 milliliters of wine. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's a level 3 and the numbers are not right there. Forgive me, all of those professionals out there. But this is a level 3, 2 scoops of thickener. And you have to insist stirring until it's completely dissolved. And do not insist now on rectifying or allowing or putting more of your thickener afterwards. Check your consistency. Make sure it's right. And once it's right, it's set and you're done. And this is how you do a drink. There's not much to it, but just make sure you start it and finish it properly. So hot drinks are to prepare same way, but just make sure you have your hot drink prepared completely, and then you add it to your need of thickener. So do not do it at the same time altogether. Just do the right thing. Carbonated drinks, stir them first. Reduce the amount of bubbles in it, because if you do it, the bubble, are going to. Do not stir it before. It's going to be, all the bubbles are going to be trapped and it's going to overflow everywhere. And milk and oral nutrition supplements, were very close by, can also be thickened. Okay, just make sure you use the recommended level that's been recommended by your doctor, and the drink will remain stable even after. Well, will be stable after 20 minutes. You're going to get the final level, but it will remain stable for at least 24 hours. Anything you thicken up with this thickener, in this case I've used thickener clear, it will remain for at least 24 hours, at least 24 hours. So thank you so much. Here's a QR. If you wish to see the rest of the recipes, these 9 recipes I prepared, so feel free to scan it, have a look at it. And this is all I can say. Thank you so much. Enjoy wherever you celebrate all over the world. Celebrating is a good thing. It will make you happy, even though whatever you are, what you're celebrating, we'd like to be around with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's wonderful that you have shared this festive menu with us. Looks beautifully curated, and thank you so much for the tips and tricks.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Wonderful. For those looking for the recipe booklet, there was the QR code that Elizabeth had shared, but you can also find it on the link that we've sent out to you through the chat. So if you haven't found that yet, navigate to the chat function on your toolbar, and you will see the link there. Okay, thank you everyone for your amazing presentations. Looks like we have just a few minutes for some questions and discussion. We're so thrilled that people are firing questions at us now. And so I think we'll start out first of all with a question for Paula, if you don't mind. Paula, you shared some really great tips about how to manage the mental health situation for persons and families supporting persons with dysphagia. If there was sort of one very simple thing that you might just tell our audience about, for this festive season, what would that one thing be?
I could say, again, just ask them what could actually make them feel more comfortable. What's their priorities and needs? Is there any particular food? Is there any particular way in which they would feel more comfortable? That would be my main suggestion. Just listen to them and try to accommodate their personalized needs, which might differ from others.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move to Dr. Tereda here. I think I may have oversold you with the handmade tortellinis, because the question here, from being from Italian descent, is all about, do you have any tips when it comes to pureed pasta or risotto, and how to actually improve the nutritional content of pastas or risotto?
Well, it's really technical. It's something that should be probably answered together with Elizabeth. Well, we have different options. Sometimes we prefer to suggest the patient relying on meal composition that combines a first course and the second course together. So the problem is the first course usually is much more energies with carbohydrates and with seasonings, also with calories and lipids. So some proteins are probably missing, and particularly high quality proteins. So having more, I would say, enriched preparations with, for example, if you mix, if you purify, for example, if a portion of lasagna alla bolognese, or is a well done preparation that could be mixed easily and is really much more complete. But sometimes if we want to enrich the preparations in terms of protein content, because we know that protein sources create much more problems when in a texture modified diet. We can enrich the preparations with the use of food for special medical purposes. So, for example, purified proteins of high quality, such as like whey proteins, that can be added to the different preparations. They don't compete in terms of taste, but at the same time can improve the quality of our meals. This could be an option, but indeed we have to think about to prepare, for example, a single meal, a combination of first course and second course, and then move to a texture modified diet. This is probably the easiest tactical approach to improving the quality of the meals we are delivering to the patients.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for reminding everybody that it's not just about the texture and thickness, that we really do need to be mindful of the nutritional content. Now, Elizabeth, because Emmanuel was so nice to tag you on that question, I wonder if you wouldn't mind jumping in as well, from your culinary expertise, if you can provide some pointers.
Yeah, I agree with Emmanuel. We've worked on recipes with pasta and others, and because what he said, they're high in carbohydrates, we normally tend to knock down the amount of pasta we put in, and as I was been saying on the tips all the time, add a little bit of water and then the thickener and make sure, but just a little bit, because otherwise it's very complicated to actually adjust, and then make sure they're safe towards cohesiveness. And yeah, why not do pasta for sure?
Great, thank you. And then, there was you had mentioned wine in your presentation, Elizabeth. We have received a few questions around, does alcohol affect the thickening power of thickeners? And do we need to cook off the alcohol? Do we need more thickener? If you can just enlighten the audience with your answers, please.
Yeah, when thickening wine and alcoholic drinks, it's a matter of time. So what we suggest to everybody thickening drinks is that they allow them to set for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, drinks based with alcohol will be to the right standard. So we suggest that time will be the ingredient, but follow the instructions from your nutritionist or carer, and then just wait, and magic will happen. There's not need to evaporate the wine.
Great. Thank you very much.
The alcohol, I'm sorry.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. It looks like we are just about at the end of our time together here. May we just once again thank the wonderful panelists for their presentations today. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar, Dysphagia at the Festive Table, remembering that we need to embrace everyone. So we wish you a wonderful festive season wherever you are in the world. And we thank you so much for joining us today. Now, some upcoming events for IDDSI. Next year, the US group is hosting a virtual conference. You will see that on the IDDSI website. It's 1 hour a month from January to June 2026. And then there is Festival IDDSI Latino Americana, and that will be in Cancun, Mexico in May. September, we have our UK festival in the United Kingdom. And then Canada will also be hosting a virtual festival October 6th and 8th. And then finally, for those of you looking for a little holiday in Asia, Taiwan is our destination for November 7th, 2026. In the 2026 year, we are also hoping to bring you the launch of our IDDSI Academy program. Alan, could you just forward the slide, please? Great. Yeah, some of you may have heard about the IDDSI Academy program. We have completed the pilot, and we hope to have the online portion of the IDDSI Academy available to you by the middle of next year. Next slide, thank you. We wanted to also acknowledge the fact that IDDSI is supported by all of these amazing sponsors, Nestle Health Science being one of our longest sponsor. Thank you very much for sponsoring the event today. But if you ever interact with any of these organizations, please say a thank you to them on our behalf. Thank them for supporting IDDSI and to make things like this possible for you. Really just to close today's webinar, reminding everybody that the reason why IDDSI does what it does is all about safety. Safety through the use of common terminology for all ages, all care settings, and all cultures. And ultimately, IDDSI is for everyone. So on to the next slide, please. We are a global initiative. We are working the best we can to support all parts of the world. If you are interested in being a part of an IDDSI reference group or a starter reference group in your regional area, and you don't see one on our website yet, then please, by all means, scan the QR code, go to our website, contact us, and we'll be happy to help make that happen. IDDSI is a global initiative, so let's all work together and make the world safer together. Happy World Swallowing Day tomorrow. Do whatever you can to support persons with dysphagia. And we wish you an amazing festive season, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Bye-bye, everyone.